This is a Celtic wood burning project that I just finished, and as you can see here, I penciled it out on board. I used basswood, which turns out to be my favorite, and here I just printed off the design I wanted off the printer. I had to tape that paper together, and then I just tape it, center it very, very well. I use a carbon paper, which you can buy in rolls, and I will have all the materials listed down below with links so you can see exactly what I'm using. There, I've marked it. I have a sanding eraser there off to the left, and that comes into play sometimes. And I have this Kato smoke extractor. It's got a charcoal filter, and then my True Art wood burning set, which I love. It has two wands, so I can switch back and forth between the two tips. There's the one I use for scrolling most often, and there are all the tips. There are so many different ones. And here you can see some of the other wood burnings that I've done. And yeah, I've been really into the mandalas. Now I'm off to do a round thing. For some reason, I'm fascinated with circles. So here we go. I've got it turned on and warmed up, and just putting some lines in there. This is so methodical, and what's funny is this is at like twice the speed this video is, so you're seeing me fly along. No, it's a slow process, and that's fine. I like that about it. I don't have the heat on super hot at the beginning of this thing here. When you crank the heat up faster, you can go faster. You also get a lot of scorch marks, which, that's fine. I like scorch marks. I think they look cool. They make it look all warm and toasty. I don't know. Plus, it smells good too. Although I gotta say, I've got a mask on my face for this. It's the N95 masks, the good old COVID masks. I use those, and it keeps the smell of the smoke out completely. I also have a window open. I need a better filter system though. They have really nice big ones that actually suck the smoke up and shove it right out your window through a tube. And so you can't see it here, but I have a window off to the left, and that stays open. And then way off to the right, I also have another fan that pulls away and filters more. And then sometimes I also have a box fan. So, well, that's a cool trick to know. If you take a box fan and just your regular standard like $20 Walmart box fan, and you get a square filter, like a furnace filter. I think it's a 20 by 20, something like that. Lots of 20s. You tape it onto the front of the fan, not the back, the front, and it makes a kick-ass air filter like you wouldn't believe. I've used everything from super expensive air filters in my home to this box fan and everything in between. And I'm not kidding. That box fan does really well. And then you just rip the filter off and tape a new one on every so often. But so sometimes I use that as well, and that really helps with the smoke. So yeah, it takes quite a while to learn how to do these nice rounded turns. But with the basswood, I've found that things burn much, much smoother for me. I've used poplar and Baltic birch and pine. Pine drives me banana times because the wood grain in pine, it can create pretty bumpy lines because the darker parts of the wood in the grain, I'm pointing at the screen now as if you can see me do that, but the darker parts burn, they're harder, so they don't burn as easily as the lighter parts. And I don't really notice that in the basswood. It just seems to glide really. It's the smoothest wood I've used so far. I do know people who just like to use pine, and they say, oh, it's no problem for me, but I I don't know where they're getting their pine from, but the few different kinds I've tried, it just hasn't, I don't like the jittery stuff on there. So yeah, I use the basswood, and the lines are pretty smooth. It's kind of a trick to the balance where you have to get the temperature set right, because if it's too hot, you get too scorchy, and if it's not hot enough, then your lines tend to get kind of wimpy. As a matter of fact, partway through this thing here, I do end up turning the heat up a little bit more, and so I can get just a tiny bit more of scorch, and also just so it can go faster, because there are so many details in this, as you can plainly see. So this is it's a third Celtic wood burning that I've done, and yeah, I'm Celtic. I've got it in me. So I'm not 100%, but it's enough to make me just get all ooey gooey when I see these things. So it's a fun pattern to do, and really detailed. I guess these are birds in here. What's funny is when I first started this pattern, I saw those heads and I thought, oh, dragons. And then I'm sketching it out and I'm like, no, those are beaks. That's a bird. And the more you really get into the tangly bits of this pattern, the more you realize what it is. Oh, see what I just did there? I use a wire brush on the side. They're the super cheap. You can get them at any hardware store or online. The steel bristles on there, I can knock the carbon off the end of the wood burning tip even when it's hot. So before I would turn the thing off, let it cool, and then scrape at it with little files and things. Oh, we're gonna speed things up now. Must be that coffee. So yeah, the wire brush does a great job. It really knocks the carbon off, and makes it burn easier, because as that carbon builds up on the tip, you start losing it. It's like drawing with a pen that's running out of ink, and that's no fun. Oh, we slowed back down again. I kind of wish I would have just kept it on the time-lapse thing, but I was afraid I might make you guys like dizzy or something. I often wake up at 1 or 2 in the morning, and as many of us do, I pick up my phone. Probably not a great idea for sleeping, but that's what I do. And one thing that helps me fall back to sleep at night is watching other artists do their art, and it inspires me. And they're not usually like on the super fast speed, it's just taking your time and watching something slowly come into being. Yeah, so it just, it means we get to chat a lot longer, doesn't it? And who knows, maybe you're trying to fall back to sleep, and hey, I get it. It's tough. I've been an insomniac my whole life, and I wish there was the kind that could just do art all night long, but I'm not. I'm actually a morning person as far as creating goes. After a certain time of day, it shuts off. I don't have anything left to be super creative. But yeah, I really love doing artwork that is methodical and that I can just lose myself in. So I'll sit here for hours in my studio. Maybe someday I'll give you guys a tour of my tiny studio. It's basically a spare bedroom, but yeah, there's nothing bedroom about it other than I have fallen asleep in here before, but otherwise it's books and paintbrushes and paint and pens and all the things I love to surround myself with. Oh, there we go. Scraping off the carbon. I don't know what I'm doing there. I guess I'm thinking. Okay. And back to it. Sometimes these wood burners get really hot. This wood burner, actually, the True Art, you can really crank it up. And so it's really, doesn't burn my fingers, but if I have it cranked way up, it starts getting hot and it's too much. So I don't know what I'm doing there. I wonder if I stopped to talk to somebody. Anyway, there are these little finger things. I'll throw that down on the list too, a link to those. They go on your thumb and your index and your middle finger, and beauticians use them when they use like really hot curling irons and stuff. And it just keeps your fingers from getting too hot. And I don't like to put them on unless I have to. So yeah, sometimes I'll just take a break and go, okay, fingers too hot. But yeah, this time it wasn't really bothering me. And please excuse my head poking in there all the time. My hair, I don't have the right setup yet. We're getting there. This is a new channel in case you didn't notice. Or maybe it's 10 years in the future and I have like 5,000 really incredible videos, and well, maybe it would be more than 5,000. And I've learned to keep my hair out of the scenery by then. One would hope 10 years from now I have a much better tripod setup and better lighting, but you know, you do what you can with what you've got, right? I mean, sometimes I just go all in and buy gobs and gobs and gobs of the supplies and the trinkets and the brushes and the blah, 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 blah. I haven't done that yet with recording video. I mean, at the time of this thing, I've literally only been YouTubing for like 2 weeks. So please forgive my mistakes and stick with me. And then someday you can say, oh, I've been watching that channel since it first started. I remember way back then when we needed tripods and our iPhones didn't just float in the air above us with its tiny jetpacks or something. I don't know. Well, I'm getting mesmerized by watching myself do this wood burning, and so hopefully I don't like hypnotize myself. It is rather hypnotic, isn't it? Apparently I'm scrubbing the wood burner tip. The True Art comes with these little files, metal files, which work really great too if you want to really get in there and clean the tips of the wood burners. Sometimes I use those. I try not to too much though, because I don't want to wear away the tips to nothing. I have a lot of backups. I ordered, you can get a set of True Art tips or nibs, sometimes they're called, like just extras, and they're all different sizes and shapes. So that's a good thing to get, because you end up with this pack full of all kinds of different ones, and then you stare at them for a long time and go, what the heck is this one for? I have no idea. And then one day you figure it out, or you come up with a new technique that you want to do. So that's been really fun. I got the True Art last January. Now it's December. Okay, so I've had it for almost a year. Last Christmas, I got for Christmas a wood burning kit that I found online that I just wanted to dink around with and see what it could do. I'm gonna stop for coffee here. So I wanted to see what it could do, and it was just terrible. Oh, here, let me tell you what I'm doing there. I cooled it off, the tip. These tips cool off pretty quickly after you turn it off. And then I used some steel wool. That really gets a lot more off. So more of the carbon off. So that's what I've done there. Now it burns much more smoothly. But anyway, back to the True Art. So I started out with some cheapy little, I don't know, knockoff or something And the tip of the wood burner, the nibs were melting, and it was awful. Like, they were bending. So I sent it back, and I'm not kidding, that was like a $20 set. And the True Art is $250. I gotta double check. The link will be below, but I will tell you that I researched all the different wood burner sets, the big ones out there, the professional ones, because I knew I was gonna get obsessed. I could just tell this is another obsession. And so I researched them all, and the price for this was amazing compared to the others. And it had really, really great reviews and a lot of loyal fans. And I don't regret it for a minute. At first I thought, oh my gosh, I'll probably be buying all kinds of wood burners. I want to try different kinds. And so far, I just really haven't given any others a thought. I'm not opposed to trying a different one, but I just really like this True Art. I like that there are two wands, so I can switch back and forth. For this particular design, I'm using the scrolling one, and then later on I switch to a different nib. I'm only using two different ones. But sometimes you gotta hop back and forth between two and waiting for it to cool off all the way, and then detaching it and reattaching the next. It's too much work. So this is good for someone like me who has very little patience for waiting in between artistic sessions. So we're gonna speed this up a little bit, and as you can see there, I'm just doing some lines. So let's get a little further into what we're doing. So we've got the lines all done, voila, and I'm gonna use this nib that has a ball on the end of it. I crank it way up for this. 85, 86, keep going, girl, keep going. Usually I'll put it, about 90. I guess I decided on 86. Usually I'm around 90, 92, something like that. And I wait for it to really, really heat up. There you go, you can see. And I just do this in all the, all the negative space. I love to just fill it with dots. And, normally you'd get these really big scorch marks. You can see a few creeping in there, but I found that doing the line work first and then the little dots, the scorch marks don't leak past those lines. So that works out well. Oh, look, you can see the pointer is red hot. I like that. And I know it's hard to see here, but there's like this nice plume of smoke that comes out of the end, and sometimes it makes this sound. It's just very satisfying to burn the heck out of something. I mean, especially these days, there's so much stress. The world is kind of crazy. So if you can just sit in your studio, in your little hidey hole, and burn the heck out of something, that's a lot of fun. Oh, look at that. I just skipped ahead again. I decided to put a little border around here, make it stand out better. And I like how it's coming out. I like how the texture on this, and I'll give you a good close-up of that a little bit later on, but I just think that wood burning works so well with the Celtic designs, the knots and things. So let's just buzz around this thing and get on to the next step. So there it is after the wood burning is complete. If you're very astute, you will notice there are some places that I missed, but I'll get back to those later. I just overlooked them. It happens. It took me like 3 or 4 tries to catch all the negative space here, but we'll find them. So now I use watercolors in the wood burnings. Here's my tray of watercolors, and I've burned the edges here too, as you can see, all the way around. I just took another nib and ran around the edges with it. And yes, that's my tripod leg off to the left. What are you gonna do? I'm working with the tools I've got. So I'm using some water brushes, and those will be down below too. Hopefully I will remember all these things. And I like to use a nice, some nice earth tones. I like the more translucent watercolors because that shows the wood grain through there. And I'm going to keep bumping my head in the way, so enjoy the back of my head. And I'm just going to put a little color in there. Normally with the Celtic designs, I'll put one color, if any, and that's it. But I want to do a little different more, and see, I'm going all out this time. Adding more color. I even got a second set of paints out. I have so many watercolors, you wouldn't believe it. They're all over the place. And literally buckets. Which, interestingly, if you're into watercolors or art at all, making your own, you know, if maybe you're just here to watch somebody else do art, but if you like to do your own, one good tip for finding a lot of really cool art supplies is estate sales, garage sales, secondhand stores, Goodwill, that sort of thing. Especially if you happen to live in an area where there are a lot of artists, because artists buy too much stuff sometimes and they have to clear out room in their studio for the next new project. So I've come across a lot of paint and just everything. Easels. My house, I often refer to it as the home for wayward easels because I have so many easels around the house. I don't even paint with an easel. Hardly ever. I have one easel that I do, and when I use it, it's one that I can tilt it horizontally. So the easels of the traditional sort, I just like them, and I don't actually use them. Can't say why. Maybe I was a oil painter in a former life, but for now it's mostly watercolors, ink, wood burning, sometimes my iPad and the pen tool on Procreate, and that's it. So anyway, just adding some more color. I liked the water brush is cool for doing some gradation. So you can start out with a fair amount of paint on your brush and then just keep painting until it fades out and wears out. And so that's what I was doing here. Oh, it's really bothering me finding those little spots I didn't burn. But that's all right. We'll get to it. The watercolors I use, if you've never used watercolors, my advice to you is absolutely positively get the professional watercolors. I don't care if you're brand new, just starting out. I know it's expensive. If you can't, and there's absolutely no way. You know, koi watercolors are pretty decent as far as non-professional watercolors. Otherwise, they're just, the way they flow, the way that watercolors work. If you start out learning with student grade, you will never know how the colors actually work because every single shade has its own little idiosyncrasies. So, for instance, French ultramarine does this crackly looking little thing. Oh my gosh, I just totally forgot the word. How many people are shouting that at me right now? It granulates. So it looks almost crackly. But if you're using a student grade French aquamarine, that's not going to happen. And then when you finally upgrade to the professional ones, which do work much better, look nicer, they're more color fast, you'll go, oh my gosh, this isn't doing what I thought it should. So that's my bit of advice. So I really, my favorites are Daniel Smith. I love Daniel Smith watercolors, as well as Winsor Newton. Those are pretty much the only watercolor brands I use. There are a lot of really great ones, but oh, look at there. See, now you can see it sticking right out at you, can't you? One that I missed a spot. I like how the gradient happened in the middle, but it's actually kind of dark, and I think I gotta lighten that up. So, yeah, see, look at that. You can see the missing chunk. I'm just gonna obsess over that, if you don't mind, for like the whole time. So let's see, let's get these birdie legs painted. That's what they seem to be because they have little toenails at the end. So we'll paint the birdie legs. And in actuality, this took me several days to do this whole thing. And I just kept turning on the recorder and, you know, the recorder? How old am I? Anyway, I just kept filming. So it's looking pretty snazzy there. I like how the lots of colors are happening. Yeah, just letting things. Boy, I'm putting myself in a trance. So hopefully, if you're trying to fall asleep, then you know that's really helping, right? Because I'm just droning on. Yeah, I could sit in my studio all day long. Really, I have to make myself get up. I take house cleaning breaks. Like most people take a break from their house cleaning to do something artistic or creative or relaxing, and I relax and take breaks to do the house cleaning because it's much more enjoyable to make art than it is to scrub a toilet. You don't need me to tell you that. But anyway. So you can see with these watercolors, you can see the wood grain through there, right? And you'll see it later close up, but it's just, I like how the wood grain shows through. The watercolors are almost working as more like a wood stain than paint. So you have to be careful with the watercolors on the wood, I should say. When you have burnt the whole outline and then you watercolor inside, you don't have to worry about bleeding. But if I was just to say slap watercolor onto the wood that hasn't been burnt, like with no outline, you do get bleeding sometimes. The watercolors will just follow that wood grain and make funky little stripes. And if you like funky little stripes, then that's fine, I guess. But I don't want the funky stripes. So, and another good thing to note, don't do the watercolor first and then burn on top of the watercolors, because the pigments are made out of all kinds of minerals and metals and chemically things, and so you don't want to burn that. That's really bad. And also never ever burn treated wood. Make sure, like, this is special for crafting. There's no finish on it at all. And as a matter of fact, I even give it a little sanding first too to smooth it out. But still, I don't get anything that has a finish on it. That's not good. You do not want to be burning that stuff. Yeah, it's bad enough with the wood smoke sometimes. So let's see where we're at and bop this baby along. So we're just going to add in some color around the border, give it a little definition, add some depth to it. I think that's going to look really nice here. Just final touches, really. Yeah, I like how it's coming out. I'm still a little concerned about the darkness of the gradients I did in the middle, but I think I have a solution to that, and we're gonna take care of that in a quick minute. So I'm going to use this opalescent gold ink, which also works really great on the wood. This one is very translucent, so you'll still see the wood grain through it. And I'm actually even going to put this on top of some of the color in the middle there, because it might look okay here, but when you put it up on the wall and step back from it, it disappears. So if I put this translucent opalescent gold on top, it's still going to look really good. So, well, at least I hope so. So we've got some of the gold on there. I'm just going to add this little bit of color to it just to brighten things up. I figure, the Celts probably had brighter colors. We see all the monochromatic looking things a lot of times, but maybe the paint wore off. So we're just pretending that for today. Whether that's true or not, I guess I better look it up, huh? Yeah, so, or if you happen to know, maybe you're more Celtic than I am. Probably you are. So just leave a comment below so I can learn something about my heritage. So now, I'm just gonna tighten things up and add some more of this opalescent. I wish you could see how pretty it is. Well, there it is. I still got to do the wood burning part. As you can see, when you tip that around, you can still see the nice gradations. So I'm just gonna quickly fill in the spots that I missed. It took me several times of going back and forth, and finding more spots and more spots. So I'd say we're pretty safe now. It's looking pretty polished and finished up, but there's still a few more steps to go here. So there we go. Completely all the holes are filled in, and I really like how this came out. We have to finish it off now. I use the Krylon spray, the gloss, and it doesn't make the watercolor run. Now, if you tried to use a paintbrush with some sort of glaze or protective coating on it, you would wipe the watercolors off, but that won't happen, as you can see very close up, and it really makes the colors stand out and brightens it and just brings it to life, really. And there it is. If you've stuck with me through all of this, then I guess you're really enjoying the wood burning process, and I hope you join me again for another one soon.